Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Orely and I will be doing a cooking session with you guys today on the Nisa Helpline page. I am a food blogger and a recipe developer and I live in Vancouver. And I share West African inspired recipes on my blog and on Instagram. And I'm really happy to be here with you guys today. So before we start, I will just share a little bit about Nisa Home. This Ramadan, Nisa Helpline is on the front line supporting our sisters one call at a time. And this year to support Nisa Helpline, as women, we are facing our day-to-day challenges and compounded with the COVID-19 impacts. So this ranges from work-life balance, financial restraints, mental health management, relationship strain, and so much more. And so the NISA helpline has had a spike in incoming calls. And this past month, the NISA helpline experienced 225% increase in calls. So the midst of the lockdown and quarantine. So for the helpline to continue to support vulnerable women in our community, they need your help so we can all fulfill our collective responsibility and be part of the solution. So during this blessed month of Ramadan, please donate to NISA Helpline through the Lunch Good campaign, and there will be a link on the Facebook page that you can find, inshallah. All right. So today I'll be sharing with you guys a recipe that I make a lot during the month of Ramadan, and so as a lot of us at home, we love cooking for our family. After a long day of fasting, we want to make the best meals for them. And sometimes we need like quick recipes that are also nourishing and delicious for everyone. So I was born in Senegal, and in Senegal, we make a lot of porridge. And usually it is with a base of the millet flour or corn flour. But here I will be using the Fonio flour and the Fonio grain. I will show you here what it looks like right here. So the Fonio grain is actually a very ancient grain that you can find in many parts of West Africa. It is grown in very dry climates, and it is very nutritious. It is gluten-free, and now you can find it in North America with certain brands like Farafina. I buy my Fonio grain and flour from them. There's also Ada Blooms. These are companies that are Canadian-based, and they import very good quality Fonio grain. And so I will be making this porridge here with coconut milk and some warm spices. I have here cinnamon and cardamom powder. I have made this recipe also with the whole spices, where here I have half a cup of water that I am boiling just at a low simmer. And with the whole spices, I will usually add the whole spices in the water so it infuses the water before I start cooking my grain. But today I'll be using the powder form, so I will be adding it a little bit later. And I have here some full fat coconut milk because, like I said, I'm aiming for nourishment and I'm aiming for something delicious but still healthy. And so this is gluten-free and it really does digest really easy. We usually break our fast with a warm porridge like this Fonio porridge, and a side of samosa, of course, because the Ramadan is not Ramadan without samosas in our house. So this is something I make a lot for Ramadan, or also during the year for dessert, because you can have this warm or you can have this cold. And it's a porridge that gets thicker as it cools down. So here I have about half a cup of the Fonio grain that I soaked in half a cup of water. And as you can see, it absorbs a lot of the water here. It absorbs the water and almost rehydrates, right? So now I'm going to pour this whole mixture here in my pot. And it cooks really, really fast. It's one of those things that where you don't compromise on taste, but it really takes like minimal effort to make. And so during the month of Ramadan, when we are cooking for our family and we want them to enjoy delicious meals, it's also a good time saver. And so here I am just mixing. I hope you can see well. I am just mixing the porridge, and it's literally gonna cook in like less than 5 minutes. Because as soon as it drinks up this water, it hydrates and plumps up, I will be adding my coconut milk and my spices. And then you can actually find this full recipe on my blog. And if you wanted to recreate it, it is really easy, or you can make it with other grains as well. I've made this with the Fonio flour or the millet flour. I find the millet flour in my local Desi stores. So this is something that is really easy to recreate. But if you were looking for a gluten-free option and something a little bit different, this is a really good option. The Fonio grain is really delicious. I also make salads, and it is used commonly actually as side dish, like a rice in Senegal in the cooking. So making it as a dessert is something that I did when I didn't have the usual ingredients that I'm looking for during Ramadan. So here we're almost there. And so for those of us who are at home and who are cooking during the month of Ramadan, sometimes it can be something that takes a lot of our time and energy. But it can also be, for people who are foodies like me, it can also be a way of self-care, right? So during the month of Ramadan, we are all aiming to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and connect to him through different ways, and intensify our relationship with our Creator. So these acts of service that we do for our families are things that are also important, right? And depending on where you are at in your journey, sometimes we are at times in our life where we have the extra time and energy to do full-blown meals and cook absolutely delicious spreads for our family every day. But sometimes we also want to save our energy a little bit and maybe focus more on ibadah and other acts during the month of Ramadan, other spiritual actions. And for me this year, it is something that I was very mindful of. I'm at a time where I am expecting my second baby. So I knew that I wanted to save a lot of my energy. I don't have a lot of the energy I usually have. So, and I still want to make Ramadan special for my family. So making treats like these is a way that I make sure that I make treats for them, and also checking my intention. But I'm keeping things very, very simple in general during this Ramadan, so I can spend more time in dhikr, and also obviously our intention during the whole month of Ramadan is very important. While we are cooking, while we are spending time with our children. So checking our intention with every action we do, even if it's minimal, those counts. The striving every day. It's a pep talk I had to have with myself at the beginning of Ramadan, because I was feeling very low, that I won't be able to do as much as I usually want to. But it has actually been a very, very great time during this month of Ramadan, alhamdulillah. And unfortunately, with COVID and everything that is closed, some parts of the country are in lockdown. Here in Vancouver, we are not, but everyone is still being careful. So we don't have the obligations of the big iftars and the socialization, unfortunately. But we can still make Ramadan special in our homes. Here I am just stirring. Like you saw, I added my spices and my coconut milk, and it's slowly thickening up. I'm just gonna up my heat here and make sure it is boiling. It's going to be boiling soon. So this is one of the meals that I make a lot, like I said. And something that I like to do during Ramadan or just before Ramadan is just make a list of meals that I want to make for my family. So I do a little bit of pre-planning, and then there's no guessing at the last minute during just before iftar or a few hours before iftar, wondering what am I going to cook tonight? Because we all know that rush, like 1 hour, 2 hours before iftar, we are running around trying to cook everything and warm up and get ready for iftar or for suhoor. Actually, this recipe is very good for suhoor as well. I add chia seeds and flax seeds to it for suhoor with a good glass of water and a side of fruit or something like that, and that's like breakfast. It's like a good suhoor as well. So I make these in big batches. I can make like a lot at the time, and then if this week we are having porridge for iftar, I will make a big batch of it and then warm up just before we are about to have it. I'll warm up a little portion. I usually serve them in like small portion like this. This is like a ramekin. And it's usually pretty filling, because if we are having this with iftar with some dates and a few samosas, usually it is pretty filling for us at iftar time. And then right after we pray Maghrib, we are able to have dinner. So it's just a nice and warm opener of the fast. And that is a big part of our culture in Senegal. For breaking the fast, we have porridge with nutritious grains. Here I am just stirring. And we are almost there. Please do let me know if you have any questions. I'm just going to switch back to myself here a little bit while I am stirring. And so part of, you feel like you can smell it from here. Yeah, the coconut milk makes it very, very fragrant, and the spices makes the whole thing very fragrant. So it is really delicious and very simple. Because no matter how much we love cooking, sometimes we need the simplicity in the meals, just simple ingredients, and but we're not compromising on taste, because that's very important. As a food blogger, that is something that I learned, especially sharing West African inspired recipes. A lot of people are not familiar with ingredients or the culture. And so it is something that I learned was simplifying the recipe, simplifying the process. And it doesn't, you don't have to compromise on taste, because that's what gives you a little peek into the culture. So we never compromise on taste, but when I'm developing a recipe, I want to make sure that the ingredients are accessible and that it is easy to recreate for anyone who wants to try them. Here, I'm just gonna switch back and show you what it's looking like. It's just going on a gentle simmer. There you go. We're almost there. It takes a little bit of babysitting, like just standing here and making sure it's not sticking to the pot. But in general, it is very easy. And I sweeten this with I usually sweeten this with a date paste. So I will soak half a cup of, I will soak a few pitted dates in warm water. A few, maybe just before I'm about to start cooking. And then I will blend it into a paste to add to my porridge. So it is a natural sweetener, or you can add honey or maple syrup, whatever sweetener you want to use. That is just, the date paste I find gives it just a different, a really good taste. You see how it is thickening up? It's pretty much rehydrating and soaking up all that coconut milk. And here I'm using full fat coconut milk to make sure that we are keeping it nutritious. Here, and it is almost ready. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm just gonna get ready to serve this in a bowl. And you can make this in advance and just keep it in the fridge. Like I said, I make it in big batches, and there it is. It's actually ready. It doesn't take more than 15 minutes from the beginning to the end. And this right here will give you about four ramekins full. And I like to finish it with a drizzle of coconut oil. A good friend of mine who is a dietitian is actually the one who told me about the good cleansing effects of fasting when we are fasting during the day, and it's a way of detoxifying. Our body is naturally detoxifying, and she told me about how important it is to break our fast with something that is nutritious and easy to digest, just to ease our digestive system back into, coming back into operation after a whole day of fasting, right? So ever since I have done this, I think since last year, at the end of after iftar, we are feeling a lot less lethargic. We have more energy, and we feel actually just nourished, right? So like we are having our samosas, and this year the air fryer is huge. So if you are able to make your samosas, or you make them in the oven or air fry them, then we can avoid too many fried foods. But we all have those treats during Ramadan, but it's about make the balance, right? So I'm just going to serve. I'm just going to serve this here. As you can see, it is ready, and it's pretty thick, and it's creamy. And as you leave it to cool down, it gets even creamier, and it is very delicious. And there we have the fonio. I'm just going to switch back to myself here. Please do let me know if you have any questions. You can find the full recipe on my blog, and where to get the fonio grain. If you are interested in trying it, it is gluten-free, and it is rich in nutrients, as well as the coconut milk. And I hope you give it a try. And so this is one of the many meals where it's like comfort during Ramadan, and it's like a treat, but it is nourishing for yourself and your family. All right. I'm just reading the comments here. Yes, so I'm going to share with you guys a few things that I do as self-care while I am also taking care of my family during Ramadan, whether it is when I'm cooking or when I'm spending extra time with my family, connecting during the month of Ramadan. So like I said, in the beginning of Ramadan, I do some pre-planning, just have a general list of meals that I want to make for iftar and suhoor for my family throughout the month of Ramadan. So I can go a week at a time, or you can just make a master list of all the meals that you like to make and then divide them in 4 weeks. So you can break it down for yourself. Then at the beginning of the week, you have an idea of what you need to shop for if you're doing groceries, and what you need to make for your family without too much guessing. And so for me, sometimes I am able to do some meal prepping, whether it's in the beginning of the week, when I make a big batch of porridge for suhoor and iftar. I have already my samosas ready to go. And then after, I just have to make my meals. So it just makes the time more flexible for me. So in those few hours before iftar, I like to go just 1 hour before iftar and warm up. So if I'm able to cook earlier during the day when I still have energy, I'll do that. And then I'll just warm up everything just before iftar, so that those hours just before iftar, when you're running out of energy, you can take your time to sit and make dhikr and read more Quran or listen to a lecture. That's something that we like to put in the house, putting a lecture on while I'm warming up something. So those are the few things that I have incorporated myself in my family, and I take things really easy. I haven't been making too many different meals outside of the usual, except for the porridge and the samosa is pretty much the only addition I have. But every family has their own traditions and their own treats. So it's all about making the intention of getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while we are serving our families, and cooking to nourish them after a long day of fasting. So those are the few tips that I have that I'm currently applying for myself during the month of Ramadan. And it has just opened up some time for me to sit a little bit more in reflection or to do more ibadah during the day, and making sure everybody is fed as well at the end of the day. All right. Let me see here if there is any more comments. Please take the time to go on the NISA helpline page and click on the campaign that they have currently going, so they can keep supporting our sisters out there that are in need, and make sure we are providing support during this blessed month of Ramadan, because not everyone is able to spend time with family. A lot of people are spending time alone, and it can be very mentally hard. So this Ramadan is actually very different for a lot of people. So let's make sure we are doing our part and supporting organizations like NISA Helpline, who are providing some help for our sisters out there. All right. I think that was it for me today. If you want to give this recipe a try, you can go ahead. I usually buy the bag. I'll show you here. I usually buy a bag like this. It's about 300 grams, and it actually goes a really long way. Like you saw, I used only half a cup in my recipe today. And there's at least another cup and a half in here, I think, or even less, a little bit less than a cup and a half, maybe another cup. And it will give you easily like quite a few meals. So it stretches for this bag that is not really expensive if you wanted to try something different. And so I share West African meals like this along with other meals I grew up eating in my own family during the month of Ramadan and throughout the year. I share those recipes on my blog and on Instagram, so you can go follow the page if you are interested in learning more about it. And I hope you all have a blessed Ramadan. And it was really nice to be part of this initiative and share something with you guys. Oh, there's a question here. Where can you find the fonio grain? So I find the fonio grain actually in my local grocery store in the organic aisle. I have found this brand called Farafina. They are a Canadian brand that import this grain in an ethical way, and it's organic and non-GMO, gluten-free. So it's something that I grew up having, and so when I was able to find it here, I was very happy. You can go on their website, or you can go. I found it at like Superstore and stores like that in the organic aisle here in Vancouver. But I know they also sell online. There's this brand, and there's also Ada Blooms who also do they import this grain here, Farafina, and it's really well made, and it's a clean product, organic and very nutritious. Let me see here if I can see some nutrition facts. I know it is high in iron and in zinc, and also it's good in fiber. And I also know that it doesn't spike your blood sugars too high. So when you're breaking your fast, it's a pretty light grain to have on your stomach when you are, jump starting your digestive system after a long day of fasting. Is there any more questions? I'm not seeing any more questions here. All right, Jazakallah khair. Thank you for having me today. And thank you to the Nisa Helpline team for inviting me to participate in this initiative. All right, everyone, have a great Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum.